Hello, hello. Welcome to Aldsidu, where we discuss old ways heathenry. Today I'm doing my second historical accuracy video. I did a video on the TV shows Vikings and the Last Kingdom. I would really recommend people to see Barbarians by Netflix. That's actually, of all of them, the most accurate movie. But today I'm going to be doing an accuracy video on Redbad. Redbad is the last heathen king of Frisia. In my mind, he's a heathen hero, along the lines of Wittikind to the Saxons. But Redbad fought to keep the Christian Franks from conquering his country and forcing the people of Frisia into Christianity. And Redbad is famous for saying, "I would rather be in hell with my family," with his heathen ancestors, than be in heaven with his enemies. And by the way, I wholeheartedly agree with that statement. And I do think you should go out and see the movie Redbad. Some of it is in English, some of it is with subtitles. There are 3 languages used in the movie to depict different peoples. There are Danes, there are Saxons, there are Frisians, and by Saxons I mean the old Saxons. And of course there's Franks. And interestingly, the Franks speak English in this movie, and the Frisians and the Germanic peoples don't. But definitely go out and see this movie. There are some inaccuracies in it, but some of the accuracies in it are so good that I totally recommend this movie. You must go see it. It's for free right now on Netflix and Amazon Prime. So Redbad was king of Frisia. So Old Saxony would be over here. Francia would be to the south. So this is historical Frisia where Redbad ruled. And he fought to keep his kingdom heathen. Redbad, or Radbod, died in 719 CE. He was the king of Frisia from around 680 until his death. He's the last independent ruler of Frisia before the Frankish Christian armies came and dominated and forced Christianity. So normally I like to start out with inaccuracies first, but let's go right into the accuracies. And my goal isn't to slam any one religion, but the Christians online on social media whining that the Christians were portrayed as too barbaric in this film. I'm sorry, the accurate portrayal of Christians is historically accurate. They did murder heathens. They did cut their hands and their heads off and make people baptized by force. The Frankish army did cut down the Donar's Oak, though it was, I'll get to it, of the Chatti, not the Frisians. But, the Frankish army was accompanied by missionaries and monks and bishops, as portrayed in the movie. And the baptism, the soldiers helped the bishops and the priests baptize people. The soldiers would, bring them to the priest, and at sword point, they were baptized by the priest. They went hand in hand. The idea that the heathens did not defend themselves in their holy places and just peacefully watched like they did when the Donar's Oak was being destroyed, though they were horrified by it and screamed, and there was a Christian army there, but in reality they rose up and fought, and the Christian army naturally prevailed. But the Christians did cut off the hands and limbs after defeated heathens refusing to get baptized. They did that. If you defended a holy site, you could lose a hand or your head. And there are so many examples in the historical sources of forced baptisms. The movie does portray these accurately. And while Schindler's List accurately depicts the horrors of the Holocaust, I believe this film does a truly superb job at showing the horror of what forced Christianization would have been like. I'm not saying we should watch movies like or Schindler's List just to see Christian violence, but it is a good way to teach. A movie like Schindler's List is a good way to teach young people the horrors of bad ideology. and what it truly does to people. And the Christian armies did do this. So the Christians whining about it on social media need to accept it. The Holocaust did happen. Claiming it didn't happen online is insane, ridiculous. And the Christians claiming that they weren't that bad is ridiculous. It is said in the historical sources that when Redbad was almost baptized, and but he refused, and his reasoning is that he asked the bishop, "Will I get to see my heathen family?" And he said, "Nope, they were not baptized, and therefore they won't be in heaven. So, but you'd rather be in heaven with our God and with the saints than be with your heathen family roasting for eternity in hell." Of course, Redbad probably did not believe that hell was a place where people roast for eternity. Valhalla, as most people know, means hall of the fallen. So hell and hall, these words are cognate. So in a heathen mind, hell is a hall. The Lord of the Rings movies, I'm not saying that those movies are historically accurate, but the idea of the halls of your ancestors is something important in the heathen mind. And again, hell being cognate with the word hall, it's Christianity that teaches that heathen hell is a fiery place where the soul is burnt to death, so to speak, for eternity. Heathenry did not teach that. But it is well documented that Redbad refused to be baptized because he wanted to be in he wanted to be in hell with his heathen ancestors, as opposed to being in heaven with Christians. And I agree with Redbad, by the way. The movie has the best set I think I've seen. I say this very honestly, and I've been to the open air museums in the Netherlands and Germany. You can go see open air museums in Europe of, houses of not just the Renaissance period, but long ago. And I've been inside historically reconstructed heathen longhouses done in open air museums, and the houses I've been in match those on the set of Redbad. I'm not saying the Frankish castles are historically accurate, but man, do the heathen longhouses look sweet and historically accurate. Now, the weaved artwork on the walls, no, but just the set in itself of the heathen houses and buildings was just absolutely amazing to see because of how accurate it was. Now, again, this is a portrait here of the historical Redbad. Now, I'm sure that the crown is not accurate. But naturally, Christian art survived, and they tried to make more of a hero of him later in time, a hero more for the church, but he never fought for the church. He was the opposite. So I encourage you to see this movie. Again, it's for free right now on Amazon Prime, and it's on Netflix, so go see it. Now, let's get to the inaccuracies. So the film depicts Redbad as doubting his heathen faith and marrying a Christian wife. But the historical Redbad was a staunch supporter of heathenry and fought against Christianization. He did not marry a Christian Danish woman. He married a heathen Frisian wife. Redbad expelled the Christian monks from Frisia. So it's a little frustrating that the film gave Redbad a Christian wife, and in his household they were always talking about how Christianity should be of love and that the way the monks were behaving was wrong. It was trying to give a point that, hey, Christianity was good at heart and the Christians who were bad, all Christians weren't that way. And I get that, but I mean, the majority of the Christians were in this time period, and the Christian soldiers and bishops and the Pope had no qualms about murdering heathens. I'm not saying they taught like during the Crusades where the Pope says to murder an infidel is the path to heaven, but they did not consider killing heathens murder. The film also shows Redbad's father, Aldsidu, as a heathen not willing to change the religion or culture of the Frisians. But yet, it's the opposite. The historical Aldsidu wanted to Christianize Frisia, and he tried, while the historical Redbad reversed his father's policies. So the film switches the religious beliefs of both. The film shows Aldsidu as a heathen who was against any change, and it shows Redbad being a heathen that was fine with some change, including his wife being Christian. That was not the case at all. And there's no need to switch that around. I mean, you can still in the movie show that maybe 98% of all Christians at that time period were fine with murder of heathens, but um, to do that switch to me is just odd. And, I guess, shout out to Cinema Sins, but I mean, the film period, the film lists 754 AD as the time of the events, but yet Redbad died in 719. It kind of reminds me of the YouTube channel History Buffs doing its review of Braveheart. And right out of the gate, Braveheart gets the date wrong. I mean, that is a Mel Gibson film. So, it is kind of humorous that, the heathen hero depicted died well before the date the movie gives. So that's kind of disappointing. The film shows the Franks destroying Donar's Oak in Frisia, whereas the Donar Oak was the holy site of the Chatti, which is south of Old Saxony. And the film shows Willibrord, the teacher of Boniface, who became Saint Boniface. So the film shows Willibrord chopping down Donar's Oak, but yet it was Boniface who did. So the pupil was watching the teacher, but in reality, Willibrord didn't destroy Donar's Oak. Boniface did. So to me, that part's weird. Now, Donar's Oak is a holy site of the Chatti, as I said, and it's 50 kilometers south of the Old Saxon Irminsul. So, it's like in between modern Frankfurt and Westphalia, Germany. I would, that's probably the best place to describe it. But don't get me wrong, I find the description of the Donar's Oak in the movie to be extremely accurate. The Chatti probably did not enjoy being conquered by a foreign Frankish army and being forced into Christianity, nor did they enjoy seeing their holy site chopped down by a saint who said that this is proof that Jesus is better than Thor. And of course, when the Chatti burned down churches, they probably said, aha, see, our Thor is more powerful than your Christ God. I mean, it was horrible for them. And the way that the Donar Oak was destroyed with heathens watching in horror restrained by a Christian army, I do believe was probably historically accurate of the destruction of the Chatti, Donar Oak. I have no doubt that the Frankish armies destroyed some holy places of the Frisians. We just don't have a lot of those names today. So hence the movie does show the Donar Oak being destroyed. I disagree with the Frisians venerating Freya. I'm not going to argue about where the word Vanir is not attested outside of Scandinavia, but the movie almost comes off as if the Frisians didn't know Odin's wife. But they knew Freya, which makes me scratch my head because Odin's wife would have probably been more prominent to them, whereas Freya was more prominent in Scandinavia. I disagree, too, with the portrayal of Frisians doing human sacrifice. I'm not saying that Germanic peoples did not do human sacrifice, but we do have the writings of Sidonius, which I show in one of my blog articles, that says the Germanic peoples that lived in that area sacrificed prisoners of war to their gods, not their own people. So the idea of them sacrificing their loved ones that weren't criminals or bad people, but they chose their loved ones by runic lots to be sacrificed, I don't find historically accurate at all. I would think that they would be sacrificing prisoners of war to their gods. And also they wouldn't burn them alive, especially their loved ones, burning them alive. And, in the movie they show Redbad wanting to hold on to the heathen gods, but wanting to end human sacrifice of women by fire to the heathen gods. the Frisians wouldn't have even done that. Heathen sacrifice of prisoners to war was hanging, like Odin hung himself on a tree. They would have hung to Woden and speared the people hanging to honor Woden or Odin, not burn them alive. That's not a Germanic method of execution. Um, the clothes are just awful. But then again, all TV shows like Vikings and the Last Kingdom, the movie Northmen, a Viking Saga. I mean, all these shows show the clothing to be like a cross between Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, and Sons of Anarchy. These clothings are never based on historical finds. And it would be far better and cheaper to have historically accurate clothing than to have all this biker leather. I mean, leather is pretty expensive. So to have all this weird looking biker leather, and I always bang my head because, in these movies, all of them and all these TV shows, it's like the only colors that these people wore were black or really dark blue or gray, or dark browns. But in reality, the Scandinavian and Germanic peoples, they loved yellows and blues and bright clothing. They weren't shy about bright clothing. Um, so they had all sorts of dyes of many different colors, and they wore linen in the summer and wool in the winter, and layers of wool and animal skins in the winter because it was cold in Northern Europe, especially the further north you went. So, if anything, black was very rare in this time period. And most of the time, black in that time period, if they tried to get it pure black, it would end up being really, really dark blue. So, overall, I'm not saying Redbad is the greatest film ever, but I did find it quite enjoyable. And I found the depictions of Christian violence to be accurate, and I appreciated the horror that heathen peoples must have gone through. Like, I'm not Jewish, but seeing movies like Schindler's List and understanding how horrific the Holocaust does makes me feel compassion and understand the evils of that. And the same thing is true with this because it was an accurate portrayal of the violence. So, I think for a heathen, seeing the set and seeing Redbad and the scene of his baptism and then saying, no, I'd rather be in hell with my family than in Christian heaven. I mean, I think some of these scenes are good as well as entertaining. So visit us at www.aldsidu.com and visit our blog. Please like and subscribe. And I do have some more videos coming out. I have a whole calendar series and my part 2 of the bloat video coming out soon. I just had to survive doing 48 states of taxes for my company. I am a corporate certified public accountant or CPA, so I survived our tax season and our tax deadlines and our fiscal time period, so to speak. So, hey, but please like and subscribe, and please wait for the next video. Thank you.